Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the gems. The gems. By watching Blockbuster's failure, it is telling us a lot of information that we can use today. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already in this episode, we're going to we're going to look at Blockbuster from its start, from its beginning, where it came from, all the way down to its current failure. And after it had its failures, we're going to look at how does that relate to today with companies, businesses, things like that. So it's a very good gem you can take out of Blockbuster's failure. And that's what we're going to talk about. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and make sure. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned in to the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time, so we are going to jump straight into it. So we're going to talk about today, we're going to go the gem that you can take away, the gem we're going to give away at the end that an investor can take today and apply to his investments today. So by looking at Blockbuster's failure. So with every failure, you can learn a lot from a failure. So of course, it was early in the morning, late at night. I watched this whole documentary on the last Blockbuster. Very good documentary. And looking at it from the outside, I always thought, oh, Blockbuster, they went under because of I thought, hey, Blockbuster went under because of Netflix. Hey, Netflix came in, put them out of business. They couldn't keep up with it. That's why they went out of business. And that was not the truth at all. So what was the truth? What made Blockbuster go out of business? And I watched this documentary and I remember, doing some more research. I said, you know what? That's a very good point. So it's a financial lesson that everybody needs to tune into and learn as an investor. Some people watch this show, they say, Prince, you're a long-term person. All this content may be boring, whatever, blah, blah. But guess what? I always tell people, nobody cares about the fundamentals in a bull market. So first of all, let's get straight to it. So the first question is, where the heck did rental stores come from? So the whole legend is rental stores came from at a time in the early 80s when VCRs were created. When VCRs were created, movie theaters decided, hey, instead of putting out movies in the theaters, we can put them on VHSs and let people watch them at home. But VHS studios, when they were selling the rentals, when they were selling the videotapes, they sold them for like $100 because they said if we give somebody a videotape, somebody can take that videotape, show it to 10, 11, 12 of their friends, and those are movie tickets that we may not have, right? So an entrepreneur came along the way and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to how about I buy the movie from the studio and I'll rent it to people. In comes rental stores. So everybody buys movies from the studio and they rent them out, creating video stores as we knew them. Now, when this happened, of course, the studios started to sue the video store people because they're saying, hey, you're taking our movies and you're renting them to people, we're losing money. They end up losing the case. Video stores start to explode. Mom and pops become video stores, all the other great stuff. So now a company like Blockbuster comes along, a big conglomerate, and it's pretty much started eating up everybody else. How they changed the game, how Blockbuster was very innovative and they changed the game, was the usual mom and pop. Let's say the movie Coming to America 2. I would go to, let's say Paramount created it. I would go to Paramount. I would buy 3 movies from Paramount for, I don't know, $75 a piece, and then I would slowly run them out. But what Blockbuster did was they would go in and say, hey, instead of us paying $75 to the studio to rent these movies, how about I buy the movies for $2? I get a whole gang of them and we'll profit share. So we're partnering with the studios instead of being a customer of the studio. Kind of catch my drift? So now Blockbuster was able to buy movies for less and rent them out so they could never run out, all the other things like that. So their prices were extremely low and they never ran out. Hence to Blockbuster exploding. When Blockbuster started to explode, it started to buy up the little mom and pop spots. It pretty much told the mom and pop spots, either you turn into a Blockbuster or we're going to put you out of business. So guess what? Most mom and pops turned into blockbusters. Hence, to blockbusters killed the mom and pop rental stores. The mom and pop rental stores that was buying the movies from the studios and renting them. Guess what? Blockbuster came along and said, hey, we can charge way less because they just revolutionized the game. So Blockbuster is now the big boy on the block. And back in 1994, they hit a peak of about, not a peak, but they hit a strong suit of about 3,600 stores across the nation, 3,600 stores across the nation. They went from 20 in the 80s to 1994 is now 3,600 Blockbusters because they essentially killed the mom and pops and expanded. Now here comes Viacom. You know, Viacom is a big media outlet. It catches their attention. It sees Blockbuster. It buys Blockbuster for $8.4 billion. $8.4 billion. It brought Blockbuster. And it brought Blockbuster because it had such a great cash flow. It had so much cash flow. Viacom said we can use their cash flow in order to buy Paramount. Hence to why Viacom owns Paramount today. Viacom took the cash out of Blockbuster to buy Paramount, right, in 1994. Now, the company starts to experience some cash issues, right? So guess what they do? The company goes public. It becomes an IPO, becoming a publicly traded company in 1999. By going public, it raises $465 million. But guess what? When you raise that much money, if you looked at the company was saddled with debt. Why did it have so much debt? Because they took all the cash out of the company to buy Paramount Studios. So now the company goes public, try to get some of the cash, right? Now, next, you see there's an entrepreneur who's upset that he has to pay $40 for late fees to Blockbuster. So guess what it does? It creates what we know as Netflix. So now we go down to the part where now you're seeing competition come into place. You got on-demand TV. You got Netflix coming into play. You got Redbox coming into play. All these competitions starting to come into play. And guess what happens? Netflix offers itself to be brought by Blockbuster for like $50 million or something. Blockbuster laughs them out the door because they're a little small online company. What are we going to buy you for? They laugh at them, right? Now, this whole time, competition is becoming very thick. The next thing you know, they're brought out by Bill Icahn. Icahn comes in, he brings in a new CEO. So what happens is Blockbuster revolutionizes the game. They turn into, now they have kiosks just like Redbox. They can do mail services just like Netflix. They can do on demand just like on demand TV. And now they have stores like 9,000 stores, 9 or 12,000 stores at this time around the country. So now they double their revenue. So, hey, Blockbuster is returning back. Everybody's excited because they're revolutionized the way they do business. Now, here comes it. What happened? What was the major event that took Blockbuster out? Everybody think it was Netflix. Guess who it was? Wish I had a drum roll. I need to get a drum roll, but I don't right now. But actually, I'm gonna get one. The 2008 market crash. So right when Blockbuster, they get brought out by Bill Icahn, they get a new CEO. They now have kiosks. They're doing mail delivery. They have on demand and they have stores. So they're in perfect position to compete with everybody in the rental store space. But 2008 market crash happens. Lehman Brothers, a 150-year-old company, disappears. They are the backers to Blockbuster. Remember what I told you back in 1994? They took all the cash out of Blockbuster to buy Paramount. So now Blockbuster has $1 billion worth of debt. That debt is serviced by Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers goes out of business. Now Blockbuster essentially runs out of cash. They don't have any cash to go further. Give me 1 second. They don't have any cash to go further, but guess what? Netflix and Redbox does. So now that their cash is drawing up, Lehman Brothers can't get bailed out. Blockbusters can't get bailed out. They have no cash to compete. Now that they have no cash to compete, Netflix kind of continues to go. Hence to why we see Netflix is in the position it's in and Blockbuster turned to the position it's in. Y'all give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Got a little cough in my throat. Throat got a little dry. They run out of crack. They run out of cash. So this wasn't that Netflix put them out of business. Blockbuster ran out of cash because they inherited debt when Viacom purchased Paramount. Now, what does this tell investors today? Prince, you said you was going to give us the gem. Here's the gem, ladies and gentlemen. Finances, debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio. How much debt you have, how much equity do you have? That's one. Number two, cash flow is king. Cash flow is king. I'm going to say it one more time. Cash flow is king. Blockbuster had plenty of money. It just didn't have cash flow. When the cash flow started to dry up, they could no longer convert to online because with all those stores, they could have sold the stores. They could have made those stores residential areas. They could have sold those stores to Amazon. Imagine if Blockbuster was still around. They could have sold all those stores to Amazon if they owned the stores. They probably didn't even own the store. They probably was leasing them, right? But the big thing was that cash flow started to dry up in the 2008 market crash. So Prince, why is this so important? The gem is to pay attention to companies' cash flow because when money gets tight, that's when you're going to see who is swimming without. When the money gets tight, that's when you're going to see who's swimming without underwear. This goes back to what Warren Buffett said. He said, when the tide goes out, that's when you can see who's in the water without underwear, essentially something along those lines, paraphrasing there. And essentially what it was when the market declined, you saw that Blockbuster had all of this debt from a previous deal from somebody that brought them out, and they had no cash flow to be able to pay for the debt. This is why debt to equity, when you're reading financial statements, I know it's boring and y'all get tired of hearing me saying it, but when you read the financial statements, when you're looking at that cash flow statement, are they cash flow positive? Or are they cash flow negative? How much debt do they have compared to the equity? That's what put Blockbuster out of business. Cash flow, debt to equity ratio. And it was fine. Everything was good until the 2008 market crash came, and the person and the companies, the financial companies that was backing them, was no longer backing them, because when the economy hits that grind, nobody starts to. It's harder to borrow money. It's harder to get money for debt. People are like, I don't know if I want to borrow this money, lend you this money. Let you lend this money to you because we're looking at your cash flow. Your cash flow is not up to par. Then guess what? Blockbuster just couldn't compete. They could not compete because they did not have the cash flow. So imagine if 2008 crash didn't happen. Imagine if they would have the cash flow. There probably would be no Netflix. So pay attention to companies' cash flow and debt to equity ratio. That's the gem that I learned from Blockbuster. Everybody thought it was an innovation problem. Oh, they just couldn't keep up. Blockbuster was still in the store. Everybody went online. No, Blockbuster was online to compete with Netflix. It had kiosks to compete with Redbox, and it was also in gaming consoles. It was on demand, and they had the stores. If they had the capital, I believe they would have got rid of their stores and probably focused more and more online. But instead, in 2021, they are down to their last store, which is in Benton, Oregon. Shout out to everybody out there in Benton, Oregon. All right, so let me see what y'all say in these comments before I get out of here. Melanie says, good morning. How you doing? And David says, share the knowledge, Prince, noble innovator. Appreciate it, man. That's notable endeavor. I'm an innovator. P for life out there in Phoenix, Arizona. She said, I'll watch the playback. He said, just got off work. No problem. So the gem is to pay attention to companies' debt to equity ratio and cash flow, because nobody cares about the fundamentals until things start to go down. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hope y'all got something out of that topic. If you did, hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And to the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever else crazy you see me do around the globe, peace, be safe. I'm out. Thank you.